Hi there. In this screencast, we'll look at paying our employees. We'll take a look at paying our hourly employees, our salary employee. We'll store the salary employee as a recurring transaction. We'll give a couple of employees advances and loans to see what the difference between those two things are. And then we'll have our employee pay back the advance. We'll also look at adjusting paychecks, manual taxes, and reports. So in order to create paychecks, we can just simply click on the paychecks icon and then choose the employee. I'm going to choose Donna. Check number, I'm going to put in 327 here, and notice that a paycheck is already calculated for her based on the number of hours we put in small Donna's record. So we can just simply, the check date for this is March 11th. And the period start, you can add this if you like. It doesn't really affect any of the under the hood bookkeeping, but I would imagine that's 14 days before the 11th, which is the 25th. And period end date, I imagine, is on the 11th. This period start date is a new field as of, I believe, 2018, the 2018 version. I don't think you'll see it in the 2017 version or the 2016 version, etc. So that's a regular hourly paycheck. If you want to take a look at the report here, you'll see it's quite a bit of bookkeeping there. It's a good thing that we don't have to enter this manually. Sage does a beautiful job. One thing you'll notice is that any deductions that we also have to contribute for, EI, we have to match the contribution plus 1.4 CPP. Sorry, times 1.4 CPP, we match the contribution. WCB, that's 100% our expense. And then you'll notice that everything that we deduct from employees as well as contribute to get put into payable accounts. Those payable accounts will then be emptied when we remit those deductions to the government. We don't look at remittance in level 1, we'll see that in level 2. So I'm going to go ahead and post this. And this is letting us know that this is the student version of the software. In real life you won't see that. And I'll show you another method of generating a paycheck. So I'm going to be paying Ken. He's one of our salary employees. So you could just simply twirl Ken and create paycheck. You get to the same screen. Ken's name is already the employee field. This is 328. In my notes it's 329. I'll just use 328. It has no real bearing. And the check date is March 31st. Start date is the beginning of March. Period end date is the end of March. Now we pay him the same amount every single check, so we can store this as a recurring transaction. The benefit of that is the dates will automatically pop in for us. We won't have to think about those dates. So it creates an ad hoc payroll schedule, which I find useful. So I'm going to go ahead and store that. And OK. And I'll go ahead and post. And OK. The next one I'll look at is giving one of our employees an advance. Now the difference between an advance and a loan, we have both of them available in Sage 50. An advance is subject to all of the regular deductions. A loan, there'll be no deductions. So basically, if an employee requires exactly $300, we probably want to give him a loan. If he doesn't mind, if it's $300 less deductions, then we can give him an advance. So we're going to give Frank an advance. On 330, sure. Check date for this one is 13th. Now this is an unscheduled paycheck, so it really doesn't matter what the start date is. I'm going to use the same start date I used previously, which is the 25th. End date, I'll say that's the March. Actually, check date here is March 13th, so I'll say that's the March 11th. March 11th check. End date is 2 weeks after the 11th. Something like that. Don't worry too much about these dates. In real life, you'll have a payroll schedule that you'll be looking at that you'll get these dates from. So, in order to give him an advance, you just enter an advance here. Now, I'm giving Frank Gordon just an advance. I'm not giving him an advance in addition to his regular pay. So I want to clear all of these amounts, make sure all of this stuff is zero. You want to do this for both loans and advances. So I'm going to remove the hours and his salary, and we should have zero everywhere here. Now I'm going to add the advance. He needs $1,300. And you'll notice for an advance there are deductions. So if I click over to vacation, there's vacation earned, and these taxes have been deducted. They should add up to $95.27. And if you look at the report, you'll see that he now owes us, this is an asset, he now owes us $1,300. And post. Now I'll take a quick look at a loan as well. So Fred's taking a loan on 332, March 28th. That's probably the 25th is the start date, something like that, and the end date is something like the 31st. Again, not so important for a loan. This is an unscheduled paycheck, but the check date, of course, is important. That's the date that he began to owe us this money. So again, you want to make sure everything's zeroed out here. And we have no default hours in his record, so everything is actually at zero, so that's fine. And I'll go to a loan, and we're giving him a $250 loan. And notice it's exactly $250, not subject to deductions. And we'll go ahead and post. And yes. And okay. So now we'll have one of these employees pay back their loan or advance. I'll have Frank pay back his advance. I'll say check 333 or something like that. And he's paying it back on March 13th. Sorry, March 31st. So you'll notice there's the money he owes us. He can pay back the entire thing or a portion of it. You just enter the amount here. So if you just click once on that, it'll pull the whole amount into that column. You can always override if you can only afford to pay $1,000, for example. You can just type in 1,000, and then there'll be $300 left over for the next paycheck. And I'll go ahead and post. So that's creating paychecks with loans and advances and paying back those loans and advances. Let's quickly take a look at how we can adjust a paycheck. So it turns out that Donna, on that check that we processed for her, she comes back to us and she gives us back her check and says, I need a new check. You neglected to add my $100 that I earned in commission. So we could just simply click on adjust, and if you want to narrow your search results, you can use Donna. The check was between those dates. You can specify the exact date if you like, but this should be fine. There should only be one check for Donna. And there it is. I'll select that. Notice that it tells me to recalculate taxes. So if she earns more, then of course her deductions will be affected. We need to click on that little black calculator there to recalculate once we change any deductions, or sorry, any amounts that we pay her to affect the deductions. It recalculates the deductions. Now, Sage 50 does not recalculate automatically. That's why we have to click on that black calculator. So I'm going to click on close. She earned $100 in commission. No hours. And so now notice that the withheld is still the same as before I tabbed out of that field. But when I click on the little black calculator, that should increase. There we go. And the dates are still the same. We go ahead and post. And I'm going to say yes and okay. Now, one thing that's useful to know about is manual taxes. So on check number 335, we have an employee who works 2 jobs. So what we have to do is add up all of her income for both jobs, calculate the tax that she would pay for both jobs, and then subtract the amount that she's paying for her second job, and that'll result in the amount that we need to deduct so that she doesn't have to pay extra money at the end of the year for additional income. So that's what the scenario is here. And this is on March 31st. Period start date, something like the 18th or 19th or something. And it's the 31st. Oops, I'll have to add all of that again once I add Amanda. So again, check date 31st, 19th, something like that. All right. So in order to, if I click over to taxes, notice that these fields are not editable. I'm double clicking on them, nothing's happening. I can't change those amounts until I click on this little enter taxes manually button. Now we're just going to add the additional amounts that she would need to pay because she has 2 jobs or some such thing. Maybe she's asking us to calculate additional tax. Maybe she wants an additional $100 taken off so that she has a refunded at the end of the year. Something like that. This is 335. So this is also useful if you don't have accurate payroll tax tables. So again, this is a student version of the software. We can still have Sage 50 generate accurate paychecks. If we use the payroll tax tables that we find via the government, we can enter those amounts, look them up and enter those amounts. If we have 1 or 2 employees, then we don't have to pay, then we can just use the student version of the software. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and post this. And okay. And finally, let's quickly take a look at a couple of reports. We have employee summary. So notice that shows everything to date for each of our employees. It's kind of like the PD7A to date. And then we also have the employee detail. That'll show us all of the details for each employee for each check. So it shows us all of the checks that we've issued to date, that is the session date, for each employee, and all of the amounts that we've paid, as well as all of the amounts that we've withheld. All right, so that's payroll. Again, creating paychecks for both salary and hourly employees, looking at loans, advances, paying those amounts back, adjusting paychecks, as well as entering deductions manually, and then a couple of reports. Thanks so much for watching.